Hello guys, welcome back onto the channel and into one more Forza Motorsport 7 video. We are doing some racing again in the Cycle Division hoppers. I'm loving this hopper, I've been playing a lot lately. And we're back again in the Aston Martin Vulcan, a personal favorite of mine. And we're in the hypercar division, needless to say. And we're driving around Bernese Alps, which is also one of my favorite tracks in the Forza franchise. The competition here is gonna be pretty much between me and the first place, Sammy J. Peppa. And this guy's really good. He's driving Lamborghini Sesto Elemento, which is a really quick car, especially so in tracks like these. But I feel that my car is a little bit more stable around the corners. It goes a little bit too wide and off the track. This was supposed to be an easy victory, but as you're gonna see later on in the video, is gonna catch up to me fairly quickly. It only goes to show how quick this guy really is. So we're up in first place right from the beginning of the race, which is inspires confidence. And due to the confidence that I had early on in the race, I'm gonna make some small mistakes that are gonna cost me a little bit of time, and the tiniest and even the smallest of the time you lose is gonna cost you a lot, because these cars are really fast, so it takes them absolutely no time to catch up to you. So you need to be careful regarding which mistakes you make and where you make them. You're allowed to make some mistakes here and there, but some of the slightly bigger ones are gonna cost you a lot. He's right on my tail, about 40 meters behind me, which is not a lot, and as you can see, he's quickly gaining on me because his car is a little bit quicker than mine on a straight line. Actually, it's a lot quicker, to be honest. And the whole time I was thinking, okay, I need to be a little bit defensive here because he's obviously quicker than I am, but at the same time I don't want to get involved into a battle that's gonna cost both of us time and make the third place get involved into a three-way battle. That's not gonna benefit either of us, and I'm pretty sure that the guy behind me is aware of that because he's not pushing his luck here. He's trying to look for ways to overtake me, as you can see by the proximity arrow. He could have gone for a move either on the inside or a little bit on the outside if you were patient enough, but he decided to just back off and wait for the perfect opportunity to go for an overtake, because even though the third place is about 350 meters behind us, it's not a lot in this division. In fact, if we make the tiniest of the collisions where we lose about, I don't know, 50 kilometers per hour, that's gonna be enough for the third place to catch up to us fairly quickly. So this guy's being really smart about where to pick his fights in this race, and this only goes to show the quality of the racing that I'm dealing with here. That's not something that you usually come by in Forza Motorsport. This is more common to see in GT Sport, unfortunately. I wish we got the same level of racing that we get in GT Sport in Forza Motorsport, but unfortunately that's not the case right now. But I do hope that this changes when they release the regulation system later this year. So we're still in first place. We just crossed the line into the third lap, and man, one thing that I did notice about the Aston Martin Vulcan, especially so when you compare to the other cars, is how well this car can hold his own against faster cars. As I said in one of my previous videos, the Aston Martin is a fairly balanced car. It's an all-around car. It doesn't excel in any particular area, but it does everything fairly good, and that's good enough for you to do some decent racing in online lobbies. I was gonna say hobbies. And the Lamborghini Sesto Elemento is one of the most popular choices in this division. You see a lot of people using this. Sometimes people use the Ferrari, the LaFerraris. Sometimes people use the Porsche 918 Spider, which is one of the most popular choices as well. The Aston Martin Vulcan, you don't see that come up that often. But at the same time, I think people are really missing out on a really good car, because as you can see, I'm holding my own, even though the guy behind me is fairly close. I make a huge mistake here. That's what I was talking about. I go a little bit too deep. As you can see, he's being really careful regarding where he's gonna go for an overtake. He sees the perfect opportunity. I opened some space for him to go through, because there was no point in trying to hold him off. I'm gonna try to cut on the inside. That was an awesome overtake, to be honest. Yeah, I did not expect to pull that off. I kind of took a chance there. I was aware that might have led to an accident, and he backs out a little bit there. He could have pushed and forced me wide, but he didn't want to do that, which is a fairly clean move on his part. But as you can see, that small mistake that I made back there cost me a lot, and now we are fighting, we are battling, and to help things, we're about to come across a back marker. Again, he almost went for a move, but he backed out, and man, I really wish I came across this type of players more often. He goes through the inside, fair enough. He takes the position, and that was a fairly calculated move on his part. You see that throughout the entire race, he was looking for ways to go for overtakes without pushing his luck, and he managed to find one towards the end of the race. There's gonna be a nearly photo finish. Well, not that photo finish, but yeah, luckily enough, we managed to finish the race before we came across the back marker, so none of us got involved into unwanted accidents. Moving on to the next race of the video, around Maple Valley, which is again one of my favorite tracks. I love this track back in Forza Motorsport 3, and I'm so happy that they brought this track back into Forza Motorsport. I really hope that it's here to stay. I'm driving the Nissan 370Z, which in Japan is called, I think, the Fair Lady. And this is not a car I usually use, but I don't know, I decided to give it a go, and I did not regret it. The Purple Haze child, the guy in first place, or girl in first place, is again a fairly quick guy, so most of the battle in this race is gonna be between both of us. I push my luck here, I make contact, I back out a little bit to give him enough space to recover. I don't like taking positions this way, so I usually back out unless it was a mistake on both sides. So when it's this case, I just go ahead and keep on racing. But when it's my mistake, I tend to back out and let the guy or girl keep their position, because there's no point in racing like this, at least from my personal point of view. But anyways, we're in second place. They're driving the exact same car as we are, so the only difference comes down to the tuning setup that we're both using. I would believe that we're running different tune setups. Usually when we find some popular tune setups, we end up coming across people using the exact tune setups that you're using, but I don't think that's the case here. It looks like their car is a little bit faster than mine on a straight line, but mine has a little bit more cornering speed than theirs do. So I'm gonna try to capitalize on that. This is just a 3-lap race, fairly short one. This is gonna run us about, I don't know, maybe 6 minutes in total. But yeah, there's one thing about this track. There are a bunch of how can I put that? There are a bunch of treacherous turns. There are some turns where you think you're gonna be able to take at certain speeds, when, like this one for example, it's very easy to drive off the track over this section, because you're gonna be fooled into thinking that you're gonna be able to take this corner at a fairly high speed, when in fact you need to slow down quite a bit in order to not go too wide in there and go off the track. Now, this section here seems to be the section where I gained the most over the Purple Haze child. But quickly after that section, they start pulling away, and there's not much I can do. There's only so much you can do on a straight line when you're dealing with a faster car. So All you gotta do is just keep on racing and try to shave off a couple seconds or a couple temps at each corner, and hopefully you're gonna be able to win the race. They almost lost control of their car, the exact same mistake I almost made over the first corner. It's very easy to go off the track over that section as well when you go through that small jump. That's a jump that a lot of people unfamiliar with this track don't expect to come by, but when you do, it's too late and there's not much you can do about that. I thought I was gonna hit the guardrail between the pit stop and the track. Hopefully I managed to slow down a little bit right before I hit the barrier and lost even more time. I'm pushing my absolute hardest on this race, and I don't know what happens here, but it looks like they give up because I don't know, they kind of, I don't know, the car in front of me fishtailed a little bit. Maybe they thought they decided to back out in order to avoid any accidents and just let me through, because none of us would benefit from an accident at this point in the race. But it was a really weird move. It looks like they just gave up and, I don't know, slowed down for me to go through. I really don't know what happened there. Only the person racing would be able to explain what happened there, so there's no point in trying to figure that one out. But we're up in first place after pushing so hard over the entire race, trying to get up to first place. We managed to get it, and now it's just a matter of trying to stay in the front. And as you can see, weirdly enough, I'm gaining on them. It's weird because I was under the impression that their car was faster than mine on a straight line, but over that straight section I was actually gaining on them. Maybe they took a little bit too, I don't know, too long to get on the gas and maybe lost a couple attempts because of that, or I don't know, I really don't know, I'm just speculating here. But that's gonna be a first place win, a really weird one if I must say so, but it was a nice one, a clean one, so I'm happy with that. I'll take that any time of the day. Moving on to Nürburgring for the last race of the video. I absolutely love this track, and I couldn't be happier that I got the chance to finally race this track online. People don't usually vote for this track online, weirdly enough, but when it does come up, I sure do vote for it, and I'll always have my fingers crossed so that I have the opportunity to race on this track. So again, it's gonna be between me and Purple Haze Child. It was a nice battle over the last race, so it's gonna be a really interesting one around Nürburgring, especially so because we're driving fairly quick, fairly twitch cars, but we're driving around a track that has very little space to go for overtakes. And as you could see over the last race, the person in front of me seems to be a really cautious driver, and it doesn't seem to take any chances when he goes for a move. So this is gonna be really interesting to see where we're gonna pick or overtaking points in this track. And I'm not used to this track, I gotta say. That's why I'm kind of struggling a little bit to figure out my turning points. The braking points are fine because I'm using the braking line, but the thing that I'm struggling the most is where I'm supposed to turn, because I usually turn this car way too early and I end up cutting corners unintentionally. Let's see if I manage to get a hold of this car by the end of this race, or if it's gonna be a struggle from beginning through the end of the race. And the car that the person in front of me is driving is I think a Chevrolet. I like this car, but I decided to go with the Mazda because it's a little bit quicker around the corners when you compare it to the Chevrolet. But the car in front of me is fairly quick on a straight line, actually much quicker than my car. So my thinking here is try to go for an overtake before we reach that long straight section towards the end of the track, and see if we can try to build a gap before that happens, because that's my only chance of winning this race. If I reach the long straight and this car is right beside me or right behind me, there's not gonna be much that I can do to hold them off. So there's gonna be a lost race. So I'm gonna try to keep as close as possible to the car in front of me. These long straight sections, the ones that you don't need to brake, obviously they're gonna have the upper hand. There's not much I can do about that, but there are gonna be a bunch of twisty sections coming up, and that's where I'm gonna try to make the most of this car, to take the most of this car and see if we can reel them in and go for an overtake. So they're about 200 meters ahead of us. That's the straight section I was referring to. This straight section, there's nothing I can do. I just need to hold my own, try to not make any mistakes. This section here is a little bit tricky. It looks like they made a mistake, as I just told. You're usually fooled that you can take that flat out, but in fact you need to brake quite a bit over that section so you don't hit the wall. And that mistake costed them quite a bit of time. From 200 meters, over 200 meters, we managed to get as close as 20 meters. So that's a lot of time lost over one section. That only goes to show how quick these cars are. The tiniest of the mistakes are gonna cost you a lot, as I was saying in the Aston Martin race. And it's even more the case in this type of cars because they're fairly quicker around the corners. And I made a tiny mistake back there that's gonna cost me a little bit of time, and with the twisty sections coming up, I think I have a chance to finally try to go for a move here and maybe take up the first place. Let's see how well we do around these corners, because that's crucial that we take these corners as quickly and as consistently as possible. I'm getting to him, or to them. It looks like they're getting a little bit shaken by my presence because I'm pretty close, and they know that the tiniest of the mistakes that they make is gonna cost the position, especially so because I'm just 20 meters behind, which is, it's ridiculously close. I braked a little bit too much over here. I could have taken that one flat out in this type of car. I wasn't supposed to brake. And I think we're about 70% through the race already. In this type of car, I figure you might be able to take an entire lap, to do an entire lap in about, I don't know, 6 to 7 minutes. They drive a little bit too wide and decide to forego the position, but I can see through their strategy here, because they know that the long straight's coming up right here, and yeah, we are exactly on the long straight I was talking about. They knew that their long straight was coming up, and they know that they have the upper hand on the long racing line, so of course they're gonna be able to catch up to me. So there was no point in getting involved into an accident by battling for the position back there. It was a smart move, a really smart move, if I must say so. And of course there was a very easy overtake. I could have blocked them, but as I said, you don't block people on a straight line, only over corners. On a straight line, you stick to your line and let them through if they're faster than you. I go as quickly as possible through the section in the hopes that they were gonna make a mistake that were gonna allow me to go for an overtake. That wasn't the case, and that's gonna be a second place finish. But it was a really intense and nice battle. It was really fun, and I wish I got more races like this in Forza Motorsport. The quality of the racing in this game have been improving now that most of the rammers kind of gave up on the game. These people don't tend to play the game for that long, and now the people that remain in the game are usually people who are actually into the game, into having fun with the game rather than screwing up other people's races. But anyways, guys, those were 3 really fun races for me. I hope you enjoyed them as well. If you did like them, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more Forza Motorsport 7 content, share the video with your friends and on your social media. It helps me out a lot and I really appreciate the help. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. The links are in the description down below, or at the beginning, or sorry, that was a Forza habit. They are in the description down below, and I hope to see you guys on the next one. Bye.